What's up, everybody? My name is Malia, and welcome to the Reclamation. Today's episode came at a really cool time as far as alignment goes and anything that might be magical out there in the workings of the universe. My guest, Emily, and we recorded this episode way back in September of 2024. And I just kind of move through my guests and the recordings and post them as it feels good and it feels right. And it was finally time for Emily's to come forth. And it's really cool, all of the things that seem to be just perfectly timed, not only for, I think, what the collective energy needs, but also some of the things I personally am moving in to creation. So it's kind of like, oh my gosh, the signs, these planets have aligned for this episode, which is also interesting. I'm saying this because you'll see in Emily's story that she tells, that's kind of the tracking that her own journey took when things were really in alignment. So maybe let that be your predominant lesson alongside some of the other things that Emily and I talk about. Okay, but as a side for a second, just some house, what do they call that? Like the business. So I have started to release some of my teachings and education surrounding safe body, finding safety within your own body and system, so that those of you who are moving through your own hero's journey, through just making your way through life in a way that feels a lot better to you. Maybe you're going to therapy, you're trying out a whole lot of different things. It's really important to be able to feel safe in your body, which is something we talked about in the episode. So it was really amazing to me when I edited this episode, how that just aligned. So you can find those teachings on YouTube, on my YouTube page. Go ahead and subscribe to my page so that you know when I post new lessons. And right now, this series, the teachings are surrounding safe body, learning how to trust your own self, learning to know that when things are challenging and difficult, that you can move through it, you can work through it. So it kind of eliminates the fight, flight, fawn, freeze responses. And especially if you're working alongside a therapist, this can really help you to have a lot more momentum in your work. So that's really exciting, and you can go check them out on the YouTube channel that is linked in the show notes. So as far as this episode goes, Emily Gardner, my guest, some of the things her and I chat through include how Emily worked with the flow and manifested the things that she needed during a time when she was wanting to be useful, was wanting to fulfill her purpose, to feel like she was really living the way that felt good to her, that felt like she was serving. One of the things that she did know for sure is that she wasn't living in the right place. So through her process of asking for guidance as to where to go so that she could be in service, while at the same time she was questioning if what she had to offer was worth anything at all. Is this good enough? Emily's journey to her new home has some fun evidences of taking that next step, even if sometimes the motion towards that next step is like over the precipice, like Indiana Jones, where it's like, I cannot see what is going to come from this next step, or if I'll be caught, so to speak, if I take this action forward. We talk quite a bit about community, which is something I have become so inspired by lately, and I want to forward in the best way that I can. Emily teaches some really needful things regarding the importance of community, her experience doing it alone, and how that moved her into forwarding the well-known cliche of it takes a village. Emily is a dedicated birth and postpartum doula, Reiki practitioner, and passionate advocate for women's empowerment. She is committed to bringing back the village mentality in modern motherhood, believing that no woman should have to navigate the postpartum journey alone. Through her work, she provides hands-on care, emotional support, and energetic healing, helping women feel nurtured, seen, and empowered during one of the most transformative seasons of their lives. Her journey into this work was shaped, like I spoke about earlier, by her personal experiences, her calling to serve that she felt within herself, and her unwavering passion. She talks about how much she just loves women, and I am really inspired by that myself. Emily also has a vision for a world where every mother feels supported and surrounded by the care that they deserve. That speaks volumes. I hope that you enjoy this episode. Thank you, first of all.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
I think that you are the type of person that is very insightful and can have a lot of things to say that are deep and soulful and help us to have perspectives that are more welcoming and encouraging us to just to hold like space for each other and have some love for each other. Kind of the idea of seeking to understand one another and opening the door for that. And the questions that I sent you were so interesting. What was coming out, it was like, wow, these are really a lot of things tied in collectively, and what we're doing individually in our lives, how they do create a ripple effect collectively. So I'd love to bring that in as well. I know that we will as it comes naturally. Will you begin? Will you open up with kind of who you are, set the stage of how you got into first energy work and then deciding to go into doula work and working with mothers through all the stages of their pregnancy. And aside from that, also just working with women and how you've embraced that and how you step into that. All of those things just set a good foundation for us. Anything in your childhood that informs the path that you're on today.
Yeah. Well, first, thank you for your kind words at the start. That was really nice. I am learning to accept those kind of compliments and like step into that power that I do feel. But sometimes it's like, oh, when it's reflected back to you. Anyway, just thank you for your words.
You're welcome.
So how did I get into this? I have always been in family work. I grew up with 5 sisters. I'm the second oldest, and so always around babies. And we came from a big family, so lots of cousins, and we were the older ones. So my sisters and I would babysit all the time. And then throughout high school, I nannied. I've just always been obsessed with babies. And then when I graduated, I thought I wanted to get into family law. So I worked at a law firm for the first 3 years out of high school. And then after that, just decided I wanted to be more like hands-on with the families. And you can't really do that in a cold office building. So then I went back to nannying for a while I was trying to figure it out. And then lots of crazy fun experiences happened. I kept getting this feeling that I should move to Oregon. I randomly took a road trip here a year prior, just because I had time off work and I was like, where should I go? I was like really big into travel in my early 20s, and I had always wanted to go to Oregon just because it looked green and pretty. And I grew up in Arizona, which is just desert.
Oh my, complete opposite
Yeah,
climate. Mm.
exactly. And that never really felt like home. So, yeah, I just packed up a little backpack and drove from Arizona to Oregon. I got there, just stayed in my car, and one of the nights, I was in Bend first, spent a few days in Bend, and then I was like, I want to check out Portland. So I drove to Portland on a Saturday, did the Saturday market, and then since I was in my car, I was like, okay, where's a safe place to sleep in my car in Portland? And I grew up LDS, I grew up Mormon, so it's like, oh, safe space is a church parking lot.
Oh,
So
sure.
yeah, and I also wanted to see the Portland Temple. So I drove to the temple, walked around the grounds, and then there happened to be a church building right next to it. So I was like, I'll just sleep in this church parking lot tonight. Woke up the next morning, and I was like, I'll just go in for sacrament meeting the first hour. And I went in and it happened to be a singles ward. So
Wow.
yeah, and it was testimony meeting. So I got up to bear my testimony and I had mentioned, yeah, I'm just road tripping and like sleeping in my car. And then I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. I didn't want to get in trouble. But um, afterwards, these two really sweet girls came over to me and they're like, oh my gosh, do you want to like come over and use our shower? And and because I had like walked in from sleeping in my car for like 3 nights. So and I was gonna be driving back home that day and I was like, oh, you're so nice, that's okay. But we ended up like exchanging contacts. And um, then I drove back to Arizona and we kind of just stayed in touch over the next year. And throughout that next year, I just kept getting that nagging feeling, spirit, the universe, whatever you want to call it, that I should be moved to Oregon specifically by the end of October of 2018.
Wow. Yeah.
Um,
That's like a direct timing type thing. Mm.
Yes, it was like a very, very clear, this is where you need to be. During that year, I had decided to backpack Europe, so I had spent all my money. I didn't
Yeah.
know anyone in Oregon except for these two random girls I met the year prior, but I was like, okay, I can't deny this feeling. I guess I'm just gonna go and I'll live out of my car until I figure it out. So I reached out to
Amazing.
them and was like, hey, I think I'm gonna move to Oregon. So let me know if there's like any jobs that you hear of or like any anything in exchange for room and board since I just spent all my money in Europe. And so they texted back and they're like, actually, there's this woman, she was diagnosed with Lyme disease. Her husband just left her and she has 5 kids.
Whoa.
She's looking for someone to move in with her in exchange for room and board.
Whoa.
And I was like, wow, okay. So they gave me her contact information. I reached out to her and kind of told her what had led up to this and that I felt I should be in Oregon by the end of October. And she was like, well, that's funny because that's when my treatment starts. And that's when both my boys are getting major surgery. And I was like, okay. Thank you, God, or and that was a thing for me. That was like that
Mhm.
solidified God is listening to me, and also just like being in tune with myself, just trusting myself that my heart and my mind is going to take me where it needs to go.
Can I
Um,
ask you a question?
yeah,
'Cause you
please.
said God is listening to me. So was there some plea that you were putting out or some sort of desire that you were putting out that had brought you into the idea to move to Oregon? Or was the idea to move to Oregon coming first to you and then you're like, okay, well, help me get there? What was it like?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of both, where I knew I didn't want to stay in Arizona. Like that didn't feel home to me, like I said, and then just I knew I had a purpose and I knew I couldn't fulfill it where I was. And so I was kind of just like I honestly was just floating until something came to me, and then that came to me, and I was like, this is my answer. This is what's supposed to be happening.
It's your questioning was, what do I do with myself? What's next for me in my
Yeah,
life?
and like how do I help the world? It was like
Mm,
where am I gonna be useful? Like where are my skills going to help people? And that we could probably get into more later, because I struggled with that up
okay,
until
yeah.
recently, honestly, of like, is what I have to offer even worth anything? Is it good enough? What am I doing with my life?
Mm, yeah.
Yeah. But that was the first time where it was like, okay, the skills that I have that come so naturally to me, which is just in a caregiving role, I'm going to be able to utilize those and like help this woman with the skills that I have of like all the family work that I've done leading up
Yeah.
to the point. So yeah, that felt really good.
It
Um,
feels really good to hear it. And I think thank you for telling it because there's so many, I don't think there's a person out there actually who doesn't resonate with the idea of feeling stuck or just not aligned in what they're doing or where they're at. And they have a period of their life where they're looking for the next right step, I guess you could say. And what I
yeah.
love about your story, when things are in alignment, it's easy,
Mhm.
it flows,
Mhm.
everything happens on time, right?
Mhm.
And I don't know if you can think back to how you were feeling, like your nervous system, were you stressed out? What was it like sitting in the knowing this is my next step? How do I get there? Although I would point out you do seem like someone that's like, well, I'm gonna go.
Yeah,
Even if
let's
I live in my
figure it out.
car, this is what I'm
Yeah.
gonna do. Which in a sense, honestly, the element to that for me says, I'm just gonna go do it. I don't need to have all these answers before I take that step. And everything was filled in for you that you were looking for and needing. It was filled
Mhm.
in for you. It was,
Yeah.
I loved hearing that story. It's so helpful. It expanded me where I've similar vibes of this is not home
Mhm.
and waiting for my sign,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
wanting it to flow just as it did for you. Oh, I just want it to work that way. And so patience and allowance.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Yeah. It came full circle too, because so I moved and I drove like the next day after I had talked to her, I packed up my whole life in my little Jeep that I had and made the trip back to Oregon. And the home that that family was living in was zoned for the same singles ward that I happened to go to the year prior. So I was
yeah.
able to hang out with and be friends with the two random girls that I had met a year ago.
Yeah,
And
you got a
they,
job, a room and board. Well, no, I mean, that's the job kind of like you got a
yes.
place to live, food to eat, and you got community
Yep.
quickly.
Yep.
So valuable.
Yeah. So yeah, that's where they introduced me to all their friends, where I met your brother, Mike, and
Mhm.
a lot of our other friends too, and that I'm still friends with to this day. So
And so, how long ago was that? How long have you been in Oregon now?
it's 6 years this month.
6 years.
So wait, what's the day? It'll be 6 years
Yeah.
exactly in 2 days.
Oh,
October 18th.
amazing.
Yeah.
Nice timing. Really
Yeah.
nice timing to kind of recount that journey, huh?
Yeah, perfect timing.
Yeah, that's
So
so
I,
cool.
I love telling that story too. It's fun for me to revisit. So
Yeah. And again, I want it to be easy like that. And there's probably a lot of nuances and things you were feeling within yourself that
mhm.
maybe weren't so easy.
Yeah, I definitely didn't question, like, it wasn't hard getting there. That was very like, okay, I'm going. It wasn't like there was no like confusion or anything like that. But yes, once I got there, it proved to be challenging in ways I didn't expect, but it gave opportunity for a lot of growth and like learning about myself even more. So
finding doula work and all of that, take us through the journey and how you discovered this. Were some of the lessons that you learned, some of the growth that you attained, necessary for you to experience so that you can step into the space as you are today? I mean, that's such a silly question as I ask it, because I know the answer is yes, but what I'm really wanting is for you to go into those things.
yes, thank you for bringing it back to how I found doula work. Is I did the family work with them for about a year. I started working with another family with them as well, another mom who had brain cancer. She had 5 kids. Her husband also left.
This is incredible.
Yeah, they happened to live 5 minutes down the road from each other, didn't know each other. But I was able to connect them and would just go back and forth from their houses each day. And then from there, I was able to go through the state and get pretty much just a roster of people, a village, if you will, who then was able to take shifts different days of the week. Because what I found was, and this will connect, that one person cannot do it alone. You need help, you need a village. And I think for a long time, I was trying to do it on my own. Because again, I thought it was my purpose of like, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I need to do. I have to, like, I need to be there for these people, but you can't fully be there if you're the only one. Like, you have to have others helping you. So that's when I really started to recognize how important the village aspect of things were. And then from there, I moved to Bend, Oregon, and I started working in wilderness therapy, where that was a program for people who struggled. Majority of them had been adopted, so a lot of their trauma had happened before their adoption, in their youth, even when they were infants. So a lot of that work was trying to give them healthy coping mechanisms to work through and cope with the trauma that they experienced. And in that job, I realized I really wanted to help families at the beginning of their journey to help avoid this kind of hurt. And, we're all going to experience challenge and hurt and pain and trauma at some level. But if I could help families at the beginning of their journey together, set them up for success, that's what I wanted to do. So after working wilderness therapy, I did that for 2 years, and I was kind of trying to figure out how I could do what I was just describing, like helping families in the early stages. And one of my co-guides, we would have staff ups every night just to debrief the day. And we were talking about next steps. And she was like, you would be a really good birth doula. And I was like, oh, why have I never thought of that? I had heard of birth doulas before, but I'm like, yeah, I'm obsessed with babies. Empowering women is like, I love women. Women are like, I worship them. They're just incredible for everything that we do. And so it's like, yeah, that actually is perfect. So once I got out of the field, I looked into it, and there's a program in Portland called Donna International, and they were offering a scholarship. I applied to it, and it was granted.
Amazing.
And which was really exciting. And so yeah, I got to take the certification, and then I became a birth doula.
It's just like, again, the things that are in alignment, it will be obvious. You're just showing me that over and over to let it be there for you, let it happen. And when it does, it shows you the right, yes, this is the way, obvious, this is the way, and we're conditioned to believe that we need to work hard for the thing. So, and this will come back to something else that you said that was something I want to have you go into a little. we're conditioned to believe, work hard. That's the old verbiage of our favorite self-help and inspirational speakers. Go out, do the work hard. It's a striving sort of energy, and the verbiage is changing, the language is changing. People want something different. I really love how your story has multiple times now highlighted that what has been in alignment for you has come to you. It doesn't mean that you didn't take action steps. Sometimes when we have to apply for something, even just applying for something, it takes effort. We're putting in effort, but when the path is made smooth for you and available, which takes me back to something you said about feeling like it was your purpose. Let's like nail that exactly what you were feeling. Was it to help others, or what was your purpose that you were feeling when you were helping the women with cancer and with Lyme disease?
Yeah, I think it just felt so natural to me. It just felt so like,
So you
yeah,
just felt like you were in your energy, the way that your energy moves and flows,
yeah,
felt like, oh, this must be my purpose. So
yeah,
there was never a feeling of like, this is my purpose.
yeah.
Oh,
It
okay.
yeah, it just felt very I think with other ways I tried to go about life, or like different career outlets I looked at, it did feel like I was trying to pigeonhole myself a little bit into like, okay, this will be more accepted by society, this will be more celebrated by society. And so I'm going to try to do this, but it never, like, I could not fully invest in things, and I was not motivated to do anything else. With this, I was very motivated and very
Oh,
like,
yes.
yes,
Yes, I love that. And so it does tie back to what you said. I think it totally is so important. You felt like you were in your purpose helping those women, but that you also felt the burden
mm-hmm,
that existed in doing it alone,
mm-hmm,
um, which you will talk more about. Be
yeah,
so good. All I wanted to say in small connection there is that when people will feel that they're in their purpose, or this is the thing for me, whether they're conditioned to believe that it'll please mom and dad, it pleases their like ego self of here's how I get recognition in the world, but it feels really not good in your body.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Right?
yeah,
So just you're bringing together this really beautiful picture of following, like you said, your heart and your mind together, and the call that you feel, and you're just following it, and things fall into place. And that's where you put your energy, and it continues to build that paved road for you. It's already paved. You don't have to go like bushwhack, you know?
yeah. Yeah. And I think it took me a while to like really accept that though, where
Mm.
um yeah, it was more so like, should it be this easy? Am I not, like, what more can I do? Kind of thing. But yeah, I think I just had to learn over time. It was like, if it's right for you, it can just be that easy, and it can just like come that
Yeah.
natural to you. So
Not to leave out those things that you learned about yourself so that you could find this path. So maybe that's where the hard work lies, is in our personal work, so that that purpose can unfold to us.
yeah,
Mm.
yes, exactly.
So, what were some of those things that you feel like you needed to learn in order to step into this world of being a doula and I see that you're a doula, but I also see that you really hold that in a more expanded form as well. So yeah, what were some of those things?
Yeah, I think one of the things was that I had a hard time with was like, okay, what am I actually helping with? Like, okay, I take care of people's kids. What is that actually doing? And I think one of the lessons I learned is that is like one of the most important things that's needed in this world is like caring for anyone, but especially the next generation, and just teaching them how to be kind and how to love, and they're little sponges, kids are. They're just so you're a mirror essentially to them. So yeah, I think the biggest challenge was just myself, like stepping outside and recognizing that I don't have to have all of these, like I didn't go to college, and that was like a really hard thing for me for a long time. And there were so many times where I looked into taking courses, and again it was kind of like trying to force myself into this world that didn't align. And so I think my biggest challenge was just accepting that this is who I am and how I am, and utilizing that and recognizing how powerful it is at the end of the day.
Making you or understanding that who you are, how you are is worthy and
Yeah.
it's valuable.
Yes, valuable for sure.
There's just so many of us who resonate with that. So I'm happy for you that you have
Thank you.
found that you are worthy, you are valuable, because we could live our whole lives and die always wondering if we were. And I know those who step into that, I have value, I have worth in a way that is like really heart-centered and whole. Oh my goodness, so many beautiful things are created.
I agree. I love it.
Okay, so you get the scholarship and you do your training. And so wondering how you decided to create your doulaship, how you show up, what your business means to you and what you have to offer. When I go to your website, I just see a very, like I said, expanded form of being a doula. It's like a teacher of women how to be in community together, how to build that tribe that you say is so important. So talk to us about your mission.
Yeah. So when I first became a doula, I worked in a doula collective, and I loved it. It was such a beautiful way to learn from others how they do things. And again, the community aspect of it all was great. I think though it was kind of limiting to what I was able to offer just because like under the umbrella of the collective, they are the ones who are sharing you with their clients essentially. So you're kind of under their what they're offering. And it was all still beautiful things, but I felt like I wanted to do more. And so I kind of took what I learned from there, and then just put in things that I realized throughout my early career of maybe what was lacking or just what there could be more of.
Mm,
And in the way of like helping the mother, helping the woman, and not only her, but helping her community or her village or her partner, whoever it is, understand how to support her. Because the way I was doing things at first, in the collective was just very focused on preparation for the birth and then labor. And then that was kind of it. Like you would do a few postpartum check-ins kind of just over the phone kind of thing. And I just like, I don't really think that's enough. I think a lot of the help needs to come after birth.
was
Obviously,
it more like medically feeling mechanical, or did it have those energetic aspects that
it
come?
still had the energetic aspects. It wasn't, it didn't feel very medical, but it still had a lot more, like, I guess I don't want to say restrictions, but guidelines. Like you had to do things a certain way. And to me, this work is so intuitive, and you can't do this, you can't do something for someone and then it work for another person the same way. You know, like
Mhm.
for me, what it is like I have to get to know that client as an individual every single time, and what they need is going to be completely different from what my last client needed.
Mhm.
So there's like this handbook that you are given to go off of, but I rarely ever used it, because it's like this person is not going to like receive this the way that the book is saying it's going to be received. Like they need something completely different. So yeah, that's where I decided to start my own practice, and still do. So the way, I guess I'll just break down my offerings.
Yeah, yeah.
I offer prenatals, postpartum. I offer nesting parties, which is where we get your group together and everyone comes over before baby is born, and we, again, it's like all catered to what you need, but the base of it is like tidying your home, preparing some frozen
Oh
meals,
my
setting
God.
up all the baby, like the crib, or washing all the car seat stuff. And yeah, putting everything together, like creating little stations by your bedside and in the bathroom for your healing. Yeah.
I'm
And
just having this visceral response in my body, and it's making me emotional.
oh,
I
yeah.
just can see this picture of this that you've created for myself that I always did by myself.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on, having a moment.
I'm holding
There's,
you. It's a
yeah,
lot.
there's things you don't realize. You're like, oh, actually, that kind of like gets me a bit. Um, I did them by myself, which at the time I'm doing this by myself, I can do it. I
Yeah.
can do it just fine. And actually, the me that existed when I was having babies probably would have been like, wait, you want a bunch of women to come into my house?
Right. Right.
But the me that exists now and more aligned to how much you love women, I'm getting there. I'm like healing my feminine wounding.
Yeah.
I see this picture of women and how we do, like, we're so powerful when we're together. And that's what, like, a coven is, right?
Mhm.
That's why they're feared.
Yeah.
And I see this group of women just being in what really it is natural to us to do those things, to tidy a space, to beautify a space, to clean up, to provide nurturing and care. It's natural for us.
Yeah.
And to be able to come together and do that, not only for someone that you love and care about, but also with other women who also love and care about that same woman.
Mhm.
I love it. And I'm like, yes, I want to go to there. I want to do that. I would,
Yeah.
I want my daughters to have that kind of experience. You know, it's a really good tell if something is worth repeating. It's
Mhm.
like, yes, I want
Mhm.
my daughters to have that experience. So,
Yeah.
so beautiful. Nesting parties. Like, oh my gosh, I go into the nesting stage like this big, humongously pregnant
Mhm.
woman, hair tied up because I'm going to work.
You're doing, yeah, you're going to it. Yeah, you're going in, and
Ah,
it's like everybody experiences it, where it's like a feeling that you can't help, like you
yeah,
need to get it done. But it's also so exhausting. And
so
so
exhausting.
letting people help you
Yeah.
is,
Oh,
yeah, is huge. And it's a big lesson for yourself too, to just like, it's okay. Like, especially I feel like with women, we are always in the caregiving role. And so it doesn't always cross our minds to let other people help us.
mhm,
But when you allow yourself to be cared for, that in itself is so powerful,
mhm,
to just like release
mhm.
that, like release control, release like feeling like you have to do everything, and let yourself be taken care of by the women who love and support you.
Yeah. I don't know if you've like gone into this in an analytical way. So I just want to play with this right now
Yeah.
with you. And if we keep it in the recording, great, but let's just take the pressure off of it.
Yeah.
And this kind of goes along with one of the questions I asked you anyway.
Great.
Doing this, where what if this was standard practice? And me as a woman and my daughters as women, always knowing that their time would come, that they would attend the nesting party at whatever age, who cares how
Whatever.
old you are, right?
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever age. And me as a woman who's very largely pregnant knows the nesting party's a thing that's going to happen.
Mhm.
In what ways does this improve our communities? How is it improving who we are, how we move about the world, and help to create a more beautiful experience?
Yeah, yeah. I think it kind of ties into one of your other questions, kind of about the ripple effect. When you're younger, especially, I do think it's so important for young women, young girls to be a part of these communities, to see that from a young age, you're not expected to do it alone. Like you can rely on and lean on your community, and to almost have that be the expectation rather than like expecting to have to do it by yourself or like put on a strong face. And also just you and one other partner. Like it shouldn't just be you and one other person either. I think it just for the community creates that ripple effect of like down the line, each generation seeing how taking care of each other is so important and so healing, and just like it's just necessary, honestly. It's such a necessary thing. So yeah.
You said earlier about, I think this is what it was that you said was the most important thing, was taking care of each other. Was that it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so tell me, and again, take the pressure off. You don't have to have the right answer. Your answer is going to be the right answer. Tell me why? Why is that the most important thing?
Why is it the most important thing to take care of each other?
Yeah.
I think because what else do we have in the world except for each other? At the end of the day, it is, I mean, I would love to live. This is my dream world where we live in a trade world where we all have our special talents or gifts that we can share with each other. And I think that is how we would best be taking care of each other, just by like recognizing our own talents and giving them to others, which in turn makes others feel cared for, but it also makes you feel cared about because your value, like what you are sharing is being valued and it's needed. So
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah, it's just like a just give and receive.
There's a really interesting exchange that happens when you do care for somebody. We never care for somebody without feeling benefit to ourselves. And I can even say that you
Yes.
can care for somebody begrudgingly
Mm-hmm.
and there's still benefit that's happening to you. So there's got to be this, like, I'm sure somebody out there has this answer scientifically, but
Yeah.
there's got to be this part of us that is in all, like it's in all of us, and it's like responds to that energy that comes in when we're caring, or
Mm-hmm.
we're like you said, giving our talents, right? So then the more we are doing this, the more we're getting this benefit. And it can soften in a healed way so that we're not all going around in this world being like, here, let me give this to you so I can feel amazing about
Sure,
myself. Right.
totally.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be the motivation, but
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
doesn't hurt.
It does. I mean, sure, start there, whatever. We're
Yeah.
just like, let's just take care of each other at
Yeah.
this point. And you're saying like that ripple effect,
Yeah.
and it that's not transactional in the form of like a taking energy,
Right.
but transactional more of a garden kept coming to mind
Yeah.
where we can help this plant to grow and be beautiful, and then one day it in turn can give to us, so we're like this
Yeah.
exchange that happens as a gardener, you know
Yes. Which is
um
my last name.
which
So
is your last name. Maybe that's why it's like it's funny. That's funny.
That's funny.
Okay, so that was
Yeah.
really beautiful. Thanks for playing that with me. I like to just um like, what's your idea about this? Because I really think that many of us have good ideas, interesting ideas, transformative ideas. We don't always have to appeal to the authority for them.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about more of your offerings because we really got took on
No, I love
hosting
it.
parties.
This is why I love these conversations because there's so many tangents we can go on, but they all come together in the end. They all connect
Yeah,
somehow. So,
yeah.
yeah. Another one of my offerings is Mother's Blessing or Made into Mother ceremony.
Mhm.
So if you're a first-time mother, we would do a Made into Mother ceremony, which is again just your close family and friends, village come together to celebrate you and share their wisdom. We do like a candle lighting ceremony, and everyone speaks well wishes, and we do like painting the belly and washing the feet and massage, just pampering the soon to be mama. And same with the mother's blessing. If you already have babies and you're having another one, it's essentially the same thing where, yeah, we're just coming together to make you feel really special. And that is also kind of catered to the individual, whether you want it to be just like a fun potluck kind of party, or if you want it to be a more sacred. I like to ask the people I'm helping if they have any like family or cultural tradition that plays into birth.
Yeah.
And so we bring that into the space. And yeah, so just a lot of making the mom feel special and welcoming the baby and letting
Yeah.
the baby feel everyone's love before they enter the world. So
I appreciate how this is also helping to reestablish that the feminine, oh man, I'm like maybe gonna offend people, but it's okay, I guess. I don't mean to offend you. That if like a feminine embodiment that is, what's the right way to say this?
no, it's so,
Having a womb,
yeah.
and being able to birth a human, you know,
Mhm.
is like the crown. That's where it is. It's the crown of the feminine gift and power. I love how this these blessing ceremonies and kind of like a baby shower in a different with a twist, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
More a baby shower that brings us more into our roots, into the innate energetics that run through our bodies and souls and help to reestablish that crown on the feminine because she is a queen
Um,
about to do her most, I don't know.
Beautiful, challenging
Yeah,
journey.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no,
yeah. And that's not to take away from anybody that hasn't been able to have that experience, has wanted it. Um, Yeah. It's just where my mind's at right now. It's like the crowning moment of a woman is
Beautifully
to,
put. Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Yeah, it is. And I think with that, there's so many other ways to wear the crown as well.
yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have to just be giving birth to a child. I think being a part of this village, everyone wears a crown. Like
Mm.
you are doing such important work. Um, you are stepping into the divine feminine when you are celebrating and supporting other women. So we're all wearing crowns, whatever role we're playing in this birth journey, whether you're the one giving birth or whether you're the one supporting. So
Yes. And I agree. Yes, I agree with that. And I've felt those women in my life that have come to support me.
yes.
Not in birth, just well, in birthing my soul.
Right. Yeah.
And they have worn those crowns.
Yes.
And I love that. I love it, love it.
I am also a Reiki practitioner, so I also offer Reiki energy healing. And that is for anyone, whether you're on your birth journey or not. That's just something because we all could use energy work. We could all use a little aligning and tuning back to ourselves. And
Mhm.
that has been one of the most beautiful things I've ever witnessed as well. Again, because everyone's experience is so different. And I, being a Libra, am I'm
Mm.
the scales, so I have to have balance. I can't be fully woo-woo, but I also don't fully believe that like Western medicine is the only way. Like there's space for both. And so I'm definitely a skeptic when it comes to not so much anymore. Now that I'm in it, I'm like, okay, obviously this is magic and it's like real life magic stuff.
Mm.
But yeah, before stepping into the Reiki realm, I had a very hard time believing it because I'm like, okay, what is someone like hovering their hands over me gonna do? But um, I was given a Reiki session and it changed my life just with like the things that came through for me, not even like by the person who was giving me Reiki, just like the space that I was in, having that energy field be open to me, I was able to receive and also release so much. And
Mm.
from there, I was like, oh my gosh, I just want everyone to have this.
Yeah.
I want everyone to be able to experience this. And so it's so interesting to now be the one giving it, and to be feeling what you feel. And just like, it's kind of like with, growing up religious or whatever you believe in, there is something, whether it's God, whether it's the universe, to me, there is something, and the energy field plays into that so much where it's like you can't see it,
Mhm.
but you can feel it, and it's so palpable. And just being able to tune into that energy field is to me is like, yeah, it's
Magic.
magic.
Yep. It's magic.
Oh,
Yeah, I appreciate that you talked about how you were a skeptic at first. Uh, Especially being a Libra is so funny, but I think it's a healthy approach to want to ask questions and to want to, I think, be just results based, right? To see how this goes.
yeah, yeah. And that has been a big thing for me where I was so skeptic was like, how do you trust these people? Like, how do you know they're
Yeah.
not just, like saying whatever they want to say? Um, and so that's why it was so important for me to experience it, because I knew
Mm.
the feelings I was getting were feelings. They weren't like words. The person that was giving it to me was saying. It was the feeling. And so when I'm giving Reiki, I'm never claiming to be the one that's like
Hmm.
I'm doing this for you. Like, I'm finding you these answers. I am a vessel, and whatever energy force, whatever answers or whatever feelings you need, I'm simply there for them to come through me and go to you. I'm never going to claim to be the healer or the one, you know, being the reason for you finding out these answers. It's all you. Like, you are doing
Yeah.
the work. You are doing
Yeah.
the work. I am just here to support you through it. So,
What would you say to somebody who didn't know what Reiki was and was more of a skeptic like yourself? How would you just describe what Reiki is?
yeah, I would say that it is a space created for stagnant energy to come to the surface. What I describe a lot of times is, as we know, we hold trauma in our bodies, we hold stress in our bodies, and a lot of times it's suppressed. So maybe we don't know that it's consciously, we don't know it's there, but subconsciously and in our bodies we can feel it. So to me, what I've felt through my practice is what Reiki does is help release that. It helps move the stagnant, stuck, suppressed trauma and energy. It helps release it to come to the surface so that you then can tune in and know what you need to work on. Like, oh, okay, yeah, this is here. And I'm remembering now why this is here. And
Mhm.
so then it's up to you to take those next steps to work through that. And
Mhm.
and Reiki is a practice. So it's not something that's gonna just happen in one session. It could, like, you could get a lot that comes through in one session, but in order to keep the energy flowing and keep things from laying stagnant again, it is a practice that you can do on yourself. And that honestly could just be a simple meditation, like what we did at the
Mhm.
beginning of this session, just like
Mhm.
breathing, sitting with yourself. Um, yeah, so it's just a lot of like inner self shadow work, if you will.
Do you feel that with some of the clients that you have or people that you know that are more resistant or maybe will come and have some results but aren't able to continue to have their energy in motion and it can just keeps getting stuck quickly?
Mhm.
How big of a role does safety in our body play? Being able to feel that when the energy starts moving, that's when you're going to start feeling the stuff.
Mhm. Yeah.
How big of a role does body safety within the body play to being able to be successful in continuing the motion that's created?
Yeah, it plays a big role, I would say. I think that that's part of the suppression, right? Like, you suppress it because you don't feel safe. You don't feel safe to feel those feelings.
Mm.
And so I would say you definitely want to be in a space where if certain things do come up, you can, like, I think it's something that you should prep for before you go in for a Reiki session. Just like have a conversation with yourself and like, do I feel in a safe space mentally, emotionally? If certain things do come up, I would say, like, have a meeting with your Reiki practitioner first before you have a session, just so you have at least some rapport with them. And something I do is I try to create a really safe, relaxing space when I have people over in my Reiki studio. And I also let them know, like, if at any point during the session you're feeling uncomfortable, let me know and we can stop. And
Yeah.
we can either
Yeah.
talk through it or we can just end and we can sit together, we can drink some tea. But yeah, it is something that on one hand can be really relaxing and healing. And then on the other end, if you're kind of just getting started, it can bring up a lot of like heavy hard things. So,
Mhm, mhm. The reason I asked that is because in my experience, when you are embarking upon your own work, the really nice thing we have in the system that we have within ourselves is that we really truly are not going to feel or experience anything more than what we're ready to handle. So understanding that when something comes up that there's a lot of discomfort there, knowing and trusting that you can do it, right? But then the other thing that in my experience is that when you have a practitioner that can help you to move through that challenge, through that discomfort, through that difficult thing, and it's like, oh, the success is there. I was able to do that. They also help you to establish that sense of in my body, here comes the discomfort. Okay, I know that I can do it. I know that I can do it. I am being safely held, walked alongside type thing. I think the whole purpose of this is that we do need to keep going. We need to keep going. And if we are stopped because of safety, because the discomfort is too challenging,
yeah.
that, yeah, it's like some of those, like you said, it's a little bit of work before the work.
Yeah. A little bit of prep.
A little bit of prep,
Yeah.
learning how to trust yourself, trust your body, and then you recognize how to trust the practitioner. Because I mean, okay, like this is a whole different episode where we can go down into this, where it's like
There's a lot there for
there's a lot there.
sure.
Okay, so some things I wanted to ask you in alignment with the energy that you're putting out into the world and the way that you are in creation with not only your business, but just the words you use and the messaging that you have. Some of these things we did talk about, and so you may be a little bit in repeat, but
Okay.
I think all these questions are still really good. I'm going to start with this one, which is, what are some of the most common fears or challenges women face during the process you help them with, which is like the pre, the during, and the post stages of childbirth? And
Yeah.
how do you help them embrace the challenges?
Yeah. So I'd say the biggest thing is fear of things going wrong or fear of them not being capable. Like they have a fear of not being able to do what they need to do, or that their body isn't going to perform in the way that it needs to perform. I think a message I like to share a lot is fear comes from a place of not knowing. Like you're fearing the unknown. And I think that's where a lot of this, the prenatal work comes into play and why it's so important, because things seem a lot more scary than they are. And birth can be very you just never know. Like it's unpredictable. And so that's
Mm,
where it's like we can prepare as much as possible. You can have your ideal way of how you want your birth to go, but at the end of the day, baby's going to get here the way that it decides to get here, and your body is going to do it the way that it needs to do it. When we go over your birth plan, we write out your ideal, like how you want your birth to go exactly. And then we talk about a plan A, or I'm sorry, a plan B, a plan C, a plan D. And then we just say, whatever happens, happens. And that's the number one thing I try to convey at the very beginning, is that we don't have any real control over this. Like birth
mm,
is it's so beautifully unpredictable. As long as you have the confidence in yourself and you have support from whoever your village is, whether that's just your partner or all of your family there with you, that's what's going to help you throughout the end of the day, is just having your support team there and having the knowledge that our bodies have been doing this since the beginning of time. And unfortunately, in the society we live in, we have been told over and over again that now the safest and only way giving birth should be done is laying on your back in a hospital bed with a bunch of doctors and nurses running around, which again, there is space for both. We both things are necessary. I think modern medicine is also such a miracle in itself. Like there's space for that, and your body can do it. We were made to give birth. So yeah.
I love how you pointed out that you get to this point in the whole process where the community that you have built around you is what you're going to lean on. Even if that community is just you're alone, but you're not alone because you have a doula with you, you have a midwife with you have a doctor with you. And I'm thinking a lot about how these small but massive moments are mirroring what we can do to move through what's going on collectively, the world over collectively. And when you enter into that process of having a baby, the unknowns that go side by side with the knowns, like, well, we know your baby's growing because we can see your baby's growing. We know your baby's heartbeat, but they're, like you said, you can make the best plan in the world, and then you must just allow whatever way is actually best to come forward. And collectively, as we move through a lot of unknowns, let's just talk about the election right now, and how we know that that's a known. There's the known. We're having an election, and whatever happens, either way, it's going to change what's going on right now. There's a lot of fear that you can go to either way, and pointing us back home to the tribe that we've built around us, the community that we've built around us, is that in place in such a way that it is going to be supportive no matter how this birthing process goes, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
And really building up resilience within our own selves, that trust. We're going back to that trust of knowing that I can do this. It goes back, way, way back to, is what I have to offer good enough? Can I actually do this? Do I have enough faith and trust in myself to get through this and not be in fear? I've had 4 babies at home, so they were unmedicated. And it got to the point every single time where you go through the whole beautiful stages of like, oh, this is so lovely. And I got my candles, I got my music, and I got my affirmations. I got my little support team. And then it dwindles down to like, I can't hear the music anymore. I just have my support team. And then you hit this moment where it's just you. It's just you doing the work. Really, nobody can help you through this. You have got to get through this. I think that this is just an encouragement of the fear that we see of the unknown. And if we can establish in ourselves that worthiness and that knowingness of what I have here, it is going to be good enough. And I'm like saying that confidently, knowing that it doesn't mean things won't be really effing hard.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that, but it means you can do it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And do it.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
Beautifully said. And amazing. You're amazing. That
Oh,
you
and likewise, I'm watching
for
you and I'm like,
oh my gosh. I mean, 4 home births is such a
oh yeah,
it's
right.
incredible.
I didn't do that to be a hero at all. I did that
No,
because
it's just like the way you
Mhm.
chose to do it. And it's
Yeah.
that's the thing. That's the other thing I like to stress too, because I've had clients who really, really, really want to have a home birth. Like they are so um adamant that they do a home birth, and that's okay. But there's been a couple times where they've then either opted to or needed to transfer to the hospital. And I think when you're in the mindset of I'm going to do a home birth because I if you're feeling like you want to do it to prove
Mm.
yourself or prove something, I think it opens the door to a lot more discouragement, or a lot more just like you get down on yourself when things have to go a different way. And again, it doesn't mean your birth experience is going to be any less, or it doesn't mean that it's that you don't deserve this like
Mm.
beautiful trophy at the end of it. Like you're still going to get your baby no matter how you decide to bring it.
That is the goal. Yes,
Yeah.
health on both ends there.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, it doesn't have to be for any reason. It's just like whatever feels good and whatever aligns to you, however you want to bring baby, and then also ultimately however they want to come into the world.
Yep.
So
Yep. And
yeah.
oh, I just so love tying things back.
Yeah.
This baby coming into the world, right? That's the creation, right? And the creation's going to come through in the way that is good and right for that creation through the vessel that that creation chose, and like, mutual decision. And when you're in resistance to, I'm probably projecting right now, by the way.
I love it. Keep
When
it
you're
coming.
in resistance to how that creation is going to come through, yeah, there's a lot more difficulty, a lot more challenges. And then when that creation does come through, you have all these feelings of maybe failure or resentment, and you don't get to enjoy that. This
Right.
is the end result is here.
Yeah. Baby's here, it's okay.
Baby's here and you're healthy too. And anyway, that was fun. Let me just ask one more question because of time, or is there something else that you're feeling you really want to share?
Yeah, I think what comes to mind is just it's funny because I listen to so many podcasts and I hear so many people talk about like their journey and finding their way or whatever it is. And I think that will always be a thing for me where I'm like, okay, I'm doing this, this feels right, this feels aligned. What else can I do? But I think I just want to encourage and validate people. And if you feel like something feels right to you, just do it. Don't worry about who's going to be accepting of it, or like if it feels good to you, if you feel like it's something that comes so naturally to you, yeah, just fully step into it and own it as your power and be confident in it. And yeah, love yourself. It's hard sometimes. I think again, I'm always going to be figuring that out, but loving yourself is the most important thing you can do, not only for yourself, but for everyone around you in your collective village. So
I love it. I agree. I agree. I agree. Thank you for sharing your time with me and for all those who will listen. Emily, you got to go check her out. She's definitely one of those souls that you can feel come through the page, come through the screen at you.
you know.
I will link your stuff, but you can go ahead and drop your handles or anything that you want to say, and how you want to offer your services.
Yeah, well, thank you again for your kind words. Yes, so my website is forthemother.spa@gmail.com. And my Instagram is at forthemother. Between each word is an underscore. So at @for_the_mother. Those are my two main places you can find me. And if you want to just call or text, reach out to me on either of those and I'll share my number with you and we can chat.
And you're in Oregon right now?
Yes. Yep. I am living in Portland, Oregon. This is home for the foreseeable future.
I love, love, love that there are people like you that are teaching a different way. To me, it feels so much more tribal. I know there are tribal communities that still function in this way, in a way that's very connected, and we are moving towards that need more and more and more. Being connected, not only to our own hearts, our own minds there, but also then outward, with one another.
I agree. It's true what they say. It does take a village. It's like one of the oldest sayings in the book, but it's true.
Yeah.
We need our village. So
We
lean in.
need our village. We as women need to step back into accepting the village when it comes knocking on our door or even asking for it.
Yes.
And that will help it to return. It'll be
Yes,
so great.
exactly.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Emily, for your time.
Thank you so much, Malia. This was beautiful. I'm so grateful for you and your kindness and warmness and for you using this platform to share everybody's talents and bringing the collective together. You're doing such important work for exactly what I'm trying to share. So thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. You're welcome. I love it. I love it. I love it.